Hello humans, welcome back to another episode of Sparks the Conversation. I hope you're well, I hope you're having a good day, good life wherever you are in this world. This is my fourth time of trying to record this podcast now, and it is the video that is letting me down. My recording is just stopping, it's just pausing after a period of time, which is not ideal. The last one I got 10 minutes in and it decided to stop, so thank you for that. That was amazing. Well done, Apple. But other than that, let's get stuck into the topic of today's episode. Try and keep it short and sweet for you. So the topic of today's episode is the reasons why you might want to change your training program, okay? Because changing training program gets a bit of a bad rep in the industry, okay? And there's a number of reasons for that, because people do tend to jump between programs too quickly. They want to try this, they want to try that. And we know that from the research, we should really be looking at sticking with the training program and creating a consistent stimulus for our body so that our muscles can respond to that progression in volume and that progression in weight that we are lifting over time, that progressive overload, okay? So I've thought about 6 main reasons why you would want to change your training program. And the first one, and probably the most common one, and the one that I think is probably the most valuable, is that you should change it when you're bored, you know. And the reason I say this is because boredom is the biggest risk to adherence in most people. Let's take away the people who are kind of robots and just can do the same thing day in, day out, regardless of how they feel. If you are bored, you probably won't want to do something, and therefore your progress will stall because you just won't do the thing. So if we can keep you engaged through new training programs, new training styles, through different movements, you will make long-term progress, and that is a given. And by all means, we are not saying that you shouldn't somewhat be doing the same movements all the time. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to think about how can we keep the person engaged? How can we make you want to train? By all means, you'll probably be doing the same movements at some point. A hip hinge is always going to be a hip hinge. A deadlift is always going to be a deadlift. We can't go out and just do that on a boaster ball just to keep you engaged. It's just not going to work like that. But if you are bored, you'll probably fall off. You won't want to do it and you'll slip up in the future. So keep yourself engaged by using a new training program. And if you find yourself getting bored, think about how you can maybe potentially get a new training program or make the program that you're on a little bit more engaging for yourself. The next one is that your progress has stalled. And this is a very common one. So once you've been on a training program for maybe 6+ weeks, you might find that your progress stalls. So if you have already focused on nailing everything else, so your sleep, your recovery, your nutrition, it might be time that you try a new training program. And the reason for this is you can rotate in and out movements so that you can give them a break. And then you can have time progressing newer movements. Because obviously when you start doing a movement, you will be lower in terms of performance. And as you expose yourself to that over a prolonged period of time, that performance will hopefully go up. Otherwise, why are we here? And then you'll be able to kind of progress until that stalls, and then you rotate back to a different exercise. Because no one, unless you're a robot again, just likes hammering their fist against the wall to try and get that progress. You want to actually see that progress on paper. Number 3, so you want to grow specific body parts. You might just be following a generic training program and then realize, actually, I want to focus on different areas. This might warrant a new training program because the program you're on or the split that you're on might not give you the availability to actually be able to put the volume or the intensity through the area that you want to grow. So for example, if you have no intention of growing your legs and you want to focus your volume and your intensity and effort elsewhere, you might not want to be doing a lower upper split where you train legs multiple times across the week, because you might want to put them actually on the back burner and focus more of your effort elsewhere on the areas that you do want to grow. So think about how specific your training program is to you, and if you want it a little bit more specific, you can change and then change your training program subsequently. Next one, so time restraints or new time restraints. So not everyone's a PT and not everyone lives and breathes and dies nutrition and gym. So if you've got a child, you've got a new role at work, you're taking on new responsibilities, you might not have the time that you had when you started your training program. So this might mean that you need to adapt the training program that you're on so that you can kind of fit it in that you are the time that you are allocated, or you just get a new training program altogether so that you can make sure that it's condensed and it makes do with the time that you have. Basically, when time is restricted, you want to make the training that you do as efficient as possible. This might mean intensity techniques, this might mean shorter rest periods, and yes, that might mean that you're sacrificing a little bit in terms of your performance overall, because we know longer rest periods mean better performance, but we have to make adherence our main goal, and if you can't stick to a longer training session, then there's no point programming it. Number 5 then, changing gyms. So If you've gone from a pure gym to a Ultraflex, there's probably going to be an abundance of kit and you really want to get yourself involved with that. So why not get yourself a new training program? And sometimes it aligns nicely with when you change gyms, you want to change your environment, you want that new spurt of motivation. Why not get yourself a new training program? Take advantage of the new kit, the new environment, and expose yourself to new stimuluses. And the last one, number 6, is because you want one. And this, take with a pinch of salt. Do not go around changing training programs willy-nilly. Do not just flip between this and that because you've seen some twat on YouTube do it. Instead, if you genuinely feel like you want a new training program and you can subjectively understand your decision making, have a new training program. This tends to work with people who've been training for a fair amount of time because they know when they just want one, and that will generally be after a long period of time. A general rule of thumb, unless you are absolutely hating every second of your training program, and there is a number of reasons above the points that I've listed, I would probably stay on a training program for minimum 6 weeks. Try and ride it out, try and get in the flow, try and get your mojo with it and progress those movements. But then at the end of that 6 weeks, if you're really not feeling it, deload, change training program, try again. So those are the 6 main reasons why I would probably change a training program for a client and myself. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're new around here, don't forget to follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But other than that, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode of Sparks the Conversation. Peace.